Hey everyone, it is Hump Day. That means it's time for Hump Day Happy Hour with Dennis in the Know. This is your backstage pass for current trends, politics, and education in the dental world. It is live and it is over the beverage of your choice. Tonight it happens to be a lovely Italian white wine. And if you're wondering why I'm dressed like this, well, I don't usually dress like this, but we actually had a sneak preview of the show Jersey Boys. And some of our really close friends in the community at our local theater were sponsoring it. We had to go to a reception, and the task was to dress kind of Jersey Boys. So I did the best I could. And believe it or not, this was actually in my closet. And the shoes are even worse. So we're not going to go there. Anyway, we are so glad to be with you. We're coming off a great couple of weeks after Chicago midwinter, after our ADA education event in Cancun, Mexico, and just so many great things happening. And tonight we have a really special program for you. We have the president-elect of the American Dental Association with us, Dr. Brett Kessler. We're really excited about that. Tonight, I am joined, as usual, by some of my best friends in the industry. Actually, some of my best friends all around, Dr. Chad Duplantis and Dr. Jennifer Bell. And as you know, we are all dentists, we are all educators, and we all own our businesses. And our job is to bring all of you in the know. Well, JB, what do you say? Do we have some? I mean, there's so much going on all the way around. There's so much going on politically. Yeah. There's so much going on in legislatively and in both groups. And so why don't you turn us on to the news here?
You got it. It would be my honor. I'll do it. So actually a couple of stories. We're going to go ahead and start with the one that I don't want to talk about. And quite frankly, between embezzlement and dentists getting injured in their office, I'm kind of over these news stories that we keep reading about. You know, we just talked about last week a young dentist that in Louisiana that was hurt while working in her office by a disgruntled patient. And it wasn't just a few days later. Jeff posted again on Friday when we had a young dentist in California who was shot by a disgruntled patient. That individual that hurt that dentist has now been arrested and is in jail waiting for, further processing with the legal system. There is a pretty good laundry list of information on this individual at this point, having been disgruntled with the dentist for quite some time. And it brought up some interesting topics of conversation about how do you keep yourself and your team safe. It is difficult to really identify the seriousness, I think, sometimes of individuals who do ultimately intend to hurt someone else because they're dissatisfied with the level of service that they've received. And I think we continue to have to be vigilant and have those conversations with our team to be open and honest about conversations. If they ever feel uncomfortable with patients that come into the office, they express threats, et cetera, to at least make sure that management, that the doctors know so that they can be more vigilant about those individuals in the practice. Unfortunately, this young man lost his life. And I think it's a valuable topic we have to continue to discuss because this cannot be part of the process for being a dentist in the United States. It cannot be. We have our own risks, right? We have all the disabilities that likely come from doing our job every day. We have plenty of burnout. Suicide rate is high. We have plenty of reasons to think that this profession is really hard. It would be really unfortunate if we also have to add that it is now unsafe to do this particular line of work for fear of retribution from our patients. So we have to keep this conversation open and we have to continue to protect our colleagues. With that, I'm going to stop on those particular stories and hope that this is the last time in a very long time that I have to have the type of news story that discusses a dentist that's been hurt by a patient. Moving on from that, we'll lighten it up just a bit. It was an interesting story that came out of JAMA recently that noted they did a study in New York and looked at about 7,000 kids in an underserved area in New York. About 4,000 of those individuals eventually qualified for the data. They were doing a cross-comparative study between dental sealants and SDF for prevention of Pitt and Fisher caries on the pediatric population. And interestingly enough, they saw no statistical difference in the caries rate among those kids that received sealants versus those kids that received SDF. Why is this interesting? Well, number one, SDF is certainly an easier process to be applied in an area in which you're accessing kids in a public health arena. We know that sealants are much more technique sensitive and require isolation oftentimes and other things to actually be able to apply it. SDF would be a lot simpler. In addition, now there is an ICD code that allows nurses, nurse practitioners, PAs, and doctors to be able to apply SDF for compensation. It's a billable code now. Pediatric services can do SDF as well as geriatrics. So it will, again, continue to provide an opportunity for increased access. We can discuss whether or not we want the medical community to be providing SDF to patients. That's a topic for a different day. But the data at least shows that SDF and sealants could provide the same level of protection for our pediatric population. And we know that SDF could be distributed more globally than what we're able to do currently with sealants. The next story comes out of Tennessee. A lot of interesting bills coming to the state legislature in Tennessee. They have several bills looking at access to care. The first, I thought it was going to be a mid-level provider like Florida just brought forward, but no. Tennessee is looking at two different items. The first is to increase supervisory rules for dentists and dental hygienists. Currently in the state of Tennessee, they can supervise 3 hygienists as a maximum. In my state, it's only 2. But they're looking to increase that to 5, specifically in the public health sector. That is up for debate and for vote. In addition, they have a second bill that's up for a lot of visibility in insurance billing and practices to be more transparent in benefits and access to care within the dental insurance community. It's a pretty large, all-encompassing insurance bill that will be coming forward for the Tennessee House to be voting on as well. It's fun to watch states taking on these big topics because, as we saw in Massachusetts, we hope that these state issues spur the debate for other states to look at opportunities to also increase access to care and new ways of doing dentistry and our ever-changing workforce challenges. The last story is specific for our guest who's on here tonight. It comes from the ADA. It is a legislative action alert. Back in 2018, the members of the ADA and their colleagues were very successful at putting together the Oral Health Act through HRSA, and it is up for renewal here in 24. So they have called a legislative action for our members to go forward and make sure that your legislators know that you are in support of renewing this Oral Health Act. It increases access to care in a lot of communities, also has a heavy workforce focus moving forward in 24, which we hope will continue to increase the opportunity for patients to seek the care they need in the communities in which they live. And with that, that's the news.
Well, listen, do you guys realize we have the president-elect of the American Dental Association on with us tonight?
Which is also freaking awesome.
This is freaking awesome. And I think, Chad, do you not have a freaking awesome introduction for the president-elect of the American Dental Association?
Well, hold on. Let me pull out my notes here. Hold on just a second. Let's see what we got there.
Hello there, I'm Doug Dunbar, a person you don't know, and I know nothing about dentistry, except that I do have a 10-year-old implant on this side that I'm very, very happy with, but I digress. I do happen to know a few good human beings on this planet, and I am honored to be here to introduce you to one of them. Tonight on Dentists in the Know, we're honored to have Dr. Brett Kessler. He is a dentist in Denver, Colorado. He also happens to be the new president-elect of the American Dental Association. And here's the deal. If you're into insanely good resumes, you got here just in time. Here we go. Dr. Kessler has been an active volunteer leader, member of the ADA for 26 years. Since 2019, he's represented the 14th District on the ADA Board of Trustees. He's chaired several ADA committees. He's also now serving his second term at the Research Institute. His vast ADA leadership involvement also extends to the House of Delegates, the Dental Wellbeing Advisory Committee, and the Council of Dental Benefit Programs, where he was vice chair, by the way. Now, you're saying, hey, we'd be good if we stopped right here, right? Well, we're not done. Additionally, this young man has served as Board of Trustees Liaison to the Council on Advocacy for Access and Prevention, Council of Communications, and Council on Dental Practice. He was also awarded the Golden Apple Award for Outstanding Leadership in Mentoring. That was back in 2010. It's been a hot minute on that one, but that is the highest award bestowed from the ADA. There's more, by the way. He is involved right now in the Metropolitan Denver Dental Society, the Colorado Prosthodontics Society, the American College of Dentists, the International College of Dentists, the Pierre Fauchard Academy, and the Colorado Dental Association Foundation, where he was the founding chair. He also served as president of the Colorado Dental Association from 2014 to 2015. I'm going to take a deep breath, because what's more important than any of that, or the fact that I might get lifetime phone-a-friend dental help after doing all of this, is that Dr. Brett Kessler is just a good man with a big heart for others. And that's how I know him. We met through our shared passion for triathlon, combined with doing hard things to help others going through hard things like cancer. Beyond proud to introduce one of the good guys to you tonight, my fellow Ironman World Championship finisher and elite fundraiser for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society in our never-ending war against cancer, Dr. Brett Kessler.
How do you beat that, buddy?
You guys got me crying before.
Yeah. I was teary-eyed too. I was teary-eyed while I was watching it the other day. I got to tell you. So for those of you that don't know, Doug Dunbar is an anchor for Channel 11 here in Dallas. He is a very good friend of mine. He also is a very good friend of Dr. Kessler's. And I've known this for a couple of years, never really met Brett until virtually tonight. I asked Doug to do that the other day, and he was like, yeah, hands down. We were actually going to get him on the show live. So anyways, he asked me how to record it. I send it to him. And the response I get, I said, I'm going to send you a script, and then you can add what you want. And he goes, you weren't freaking kidding me, a script. He goes, you want me to read the Bible? Come on, bro. Let's do it.
They don't get that long on most news stories. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, that was just like, to me, hey, Brett, I don't know if anybody could say that crap about me. Congratulations, buddy. You're one hell of a guy in my book. Honored to have you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. What a gift. What a gift you just gave me, honestly.
I'm going to send you that. So.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm an endurance athlete, and I'm a recovering drug addict, and got this long story. And triathlon was one of the things that really helped me, along my recovery journey. And I never thought I would ever do the Ironman World Championships in Hawaii. And I tried for 25 years to get in. And my mom passed away from leukemia in 2017, and I was really involved in the Leukemia Society. And that's how I met Doug. And when she passed away, they asked me if I wanted to do something in her honor. My mom wouldn't let me do anything while she was alive. She didn't want the attention to be brought on her. And then when she passed away, they asked me if I wanted to do something. And I said, yeah, I want to do the Ironman. And I got into the World Championships, and Doug had done it the year before, and he and I became fast friends, and he mentored me and guided me and got me in a great headspace. And man, I'll follow that guy to the end of the earth. That's how much I love him. So what a gift. Thank you so much for that.
Hey, you bet, man. I was glad that we were able to make it happen, and I thought it would be special. So I'm glad we can make it happen. So tell us about your journey in dentistry before we even get to the ADA. Let's switch gears here.
So I didn't know I wanted to be a dentist. I'll tell you that. I was an engineering major with the idea of going into medical school. And I spent one summer studying for the MCAT. And I remember with the application for the MCAT in my hand at a mailbox. And I was thinking, man, I don't want to do this. I tore it up, and I found it around for a little while. And a buddy of mine told me that, he was already in dental school. He was one of my old roommates and fraternity brothers. And he said, with your engineering background, you'd do pretty well in dentistry, and that the girls were cute. And that's really all I knew about dentistry. And so I did pretty well. And that's where I met my wife. She's a classmate of mine. And and so that's that. We went to University of Illinois in Chicago, graduated in 1995. I did a general practice residency at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. Second year of it was a cancer fellowship. The cool thing about that was, I learned a ton about oral systemic interactions and things like that, and how systemic problems could be exacerbated by poor oral health. And I learned how poor oral health could be exacerbated by or exaggerated by systemic problems. And so I got a really good connection of the two, and how important dentistry is and the health of our populations. But my boss there was doing like full mouth reconstructions on A-list celebrities of Chicago. And so I got to see a lot of really cool dentistry. My wife, in the meantime, got into University of Michigan, moved us to Ann Arbor, and I started working for a guy up in Flint, Michigan, which, as you know, isn't the economic mecca of the world. But the guy that I work for in Michigan, his name's Rob Thierry. He, was doing the same kind of work on United Auto Workers that my boss in Chicago was doing on A-list celebrities. And I was like, how does this happen? And so that's why I worked for him. I lived about 50 miles away from Flint, Michigan, but I drove there every day, and really enjoyed his mentorship and guidance. He sent me down to the Dawson Academy to study with Pete Dawson, and then to the Pankey Institute, and to go where the best dentists, learned and taught. And, so I've been, following that narrative my entire career of, looking at how excellent the best dentistry in the world can affect our health and well-being. And so that's and I had a private practice in Denver from 2003. I started a scratch start fee for service practice, and it was kind of a boutique, high-end restorative, dealing with, health, function, and aesthetics. A lot of destination type of patients who'd come to see me from around the Southwest. I sold it in 2018, the year I turned 50. That was the year that I turned 50, and I guess I had some midlife questions, not really a midlife crisis, but midlife questions. And, what did I want to do with the second half of my career? And what do I want to do with the second half of my life? Where can I make the biggest impact? And that was the year I decided to run for a position on the Board of Trustees of the ADA. That was the year I got into the World Championships in Hawaii at the Ironman. And that was the year I turned 20 years sober from substance abuse disorder. And so it's the second half has been turning out pretty good. Pretty happy about that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's a great outlook. And thank you for sharing that with us. Did you drink the water in Flint?
No, it was actually on a different water system at the time.
Okay,
so
just making sure.
They did have a great ABA basketball team that came out of Flint, though. Like, that was amazing, right?
ABA, not ADA, right?
Yeah. No, ABA. That's right. So, but I got to ask you, Brett, what was that like? Like turning 50? What is that like?
Yeah. Yeah, Brett, would you share that with Jennifer and I?
Yeah,
I'd have no idea what that feels like. Yeah.
This getting old thing is a little overrated.
Trying to prepare for it. That's all.
But I'm doing my best to cheat the aging process. So I'm pretty focused on health, and and one of my big, I'm sure you're going to ask me what are my initiatives as ADA president-elect, and one of them is wellness, and I try and be an example of living as good of a life as I possibly could be, because I'm halfway there. I'm 55. I'm over that hill, I guess, and I don't think I'll live to 110, but I hope to live to 100, and not just live, be alive, but I want to really live. those years. And so I focus on trying to be the best Brett I can be every single day. And I hope to inspire others to do the same.
So if I may, though, you just touched on something that I think is really at the forefront of dentistry right now, which is the oral systemic connection. So given your experiences and given where we are now talking about sleep apnea, talking about the oral systemic connection, I know you may not want to get into initiatives right now, but where do you see, what are some of the initiatives of the ADA, or where would you like to see it go with regard to overall health and dentistry's ability to contribute to the overall health of America?
So I'll start with, so I mentioned about my training with working in the hospital and seeing the effects of healthy oral cavity over, this on the system. But I'll illustrate it through COVID. When COVID happened, the government wanted to shut us down. They said, you're closed. This virus that we know nothing about, what we do know about it lives in aerosols, and you all live in aerosols, and you're gonna, spread it, and and you're gonna kill yourselves, you're gonna kill your staffs, you're gonna spread it to the patients, you're gonna raise that curve, and we said, wait a minute, government, we need to stay open because our patients are still going to have toothaches, they're still going to need care during this crisis, and we can't just send them to the ER. If you remember, no one wanted to go to the hospital then, but if you thought you had COVID, they said, come up to the hospital and we'll test you, but don't get out of your car. Well, we want you to pull up around this, the front door and open your window this much. Mm-hmm. And they're wearing these space suits with these long Q-tips. Mm-hmm. So they stick through that window and they put it up your nose, and then they put it in this little, reagent, and then, walk away. And, but we establish ourselves as essential health at that point. We learned where we sat in the overall healthcare realm. We did our part. We donated our PPE, whatever we had at the time. No one had an N95 mask that I knew of, except a couple of oral surgeons. We didn't even know what it was. But we did our part. And so we declared ourselves essential health, and the government agreed. And this is going to be kind of controversial, but our culture of dentistry, we've done really well with the benefit system that we've been given to us. The $1,500 max, 180, 50. We all hate it, but we've all done really well up till a few years ago. It stopped working because it hasn't kept up with the cost of living. You wonder why we have a workforce issue. We can't afford to pay, our staffs the way that they should. They haven't raised their fees. They haven't raised their cap. And then culturally, that 1 to 2 crown a year thing has been, even though we hate it, it's worked for us really well. But culturally in medicine, why is it okay to put a titanium post in your leg, but not in your mouth?
Uh-huh.
If medicine was treated like dentistry was treated, we'd give that person who's got a degenerative hip disease crutches, because we've allowed our dental benefits to accept a flipper, which is basically a crutch. We have to find a way to reconnect our oral cavity. We need to be physicians of the masticatory system, and we need to be compensated for it appropriately. And we need to get access to people who have no access. That's what the definition of a profession is. So I don't know what that looks like, but I know we're not thrilled with the situation right now with benefits. There's a looming threat of Medicare, which, may be the best solution if we can control it, may not if we can't, but we have to be at the table to make sure that if it is something that is in our future, that we're directing it, something that is equitable for both the patients and the dental industry.
Brett, how do you feel if we're kind of focusing in on benefits in general? And I do think that's a really hot topic. because we're just coming off the hills of the NCOIL and ADP ADA collab. Where do you feel like the wins were? Where do you feel like some of the compromises occurred? And ultimately, do you feel like that's moving you towards the initiatives that you have for your presidency?
So the medical loss ratio, is that what you're talking about?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I love what we did in Massachusetts. Okay. Morris Scala, brought this forward, and he basically, kept hitting walls. He tried to bring it through the legislation, and no one would take it. Back up 10 years before, California did it, and just with the transparency of medical loss ratios, and it opened up the conversation. And I remember when California did it, I brought it to Colorado to try and do it in Colorado, but no one really understood it. Morris Scala then has never let go of it, and he did an amazing job in Massachusetts. And I was happy, with the ADA. It was the first time ever that we supported financially in a big way.
Yeah.
Something that could really help the way benefits are delivered. And if nothing else, our members now know we're in the game. We're in the game to make real change. Okay. We won McCarran-Ferguson a few years ago. That was a 12-year battle. We had to carry that flag for 12 years before we finally got something to move. MLR, it started in California. Now it's in Massachusetts. It's coming across the state. I think 19 states have it on their legislative agenda right now. So why did we collaborate? Why did we make a deal with NCOIL? So NCOIL is the National Coalition of Insurance Legislators. These are legislators who are focused on insurance initiatives,
right? And
they want to make differences, make a difference in the world through the insurance legislations. And state legislators especially, listen to NCOIL much more than they listen to dentists. Okay, we are so smart. We are, we see logical things, and it makes perfect sense to us. It doesn't make perfect sense to legislators. And just because we think it's logical, legislators really don't care that much about us. We have to really fight to get our voice heard, especially at the national level. State level, it's a little easier. And so they listen to NCOIL much more than we do. And, so we started working with them. Them and NCOIL and NADP have already started to work on it, and then they invited us to it. And if it was just NADP, the National Association of Dental Plans, with NCOIL, it would have just been a transparency compromise.
Right.
And so we got it up to something that, we think is really good, that will open up the conversations. And it's opened up the conversations in several states where that conversation was not possible. Every state has its own unique relationship with the legislators. Every state has a legislative strategy and agenda, and what are they doing and when. And MLR might not have been primary, and they were working on other things to build up to MLR, but it doesn't exist in a vacuum. And if it did, then we should have done. We would have loved to have done the Massachusetts model across the country. It would have been amazing. It's impossible. It was impossible. So we made that agreement. What we want to call it, you want to call it compromise.
Yeah.
But it opens up the doors to conversations where it eventually, over time, we will get a real handle on how benefits are administered compared to premiums collected.
Do you think that will help those states that have it coming up on their ballots in the next year or two, that the language is being massaged, that, like maybe now there's a decent chance that many of these states will see victory, much like Massachusetts did, where at least they'll have new laws on the books to help continue to move the agenda forward in that direction?
Yeah. And as data is collected by what is the true overhead
Mm-hmm.
of a dental benefit company, it'll be able to be regulated. Right now, there's no data.
Yeah.
It's not transparent. So how did they pick the number? You know,
Is there no data, or we don't know the data?
Yeah, right.
No accessible data that we have eyes on. Let's put it
Right,
like
exactly.
that.
Yeah,
They have the data.
for sure.
But where did this number come from? The Affordable Care Act, mandated 85%.
Yeah.
Imagine that fight that went on, back then with the medical insurance. Okay. But Mo dropped it to 83, and but again, it's somewhat random. He may say differently, but we can't find anywhere where that should be the benchmark. I'd love it to be the benchmark. Absolutely. I'd love it to be 90%. But we'll see where it goes, and in time we'll tell. What this is going to do, what medical loss ratio legislation will do, is will increase utilization. Right now, utilization in the current model is pitiful. Okay. I hear it from members. Well, we need to fight against the insurance companies. They haven't raised their max in 40 years. But according to the National Association of Dental Plans, less than 6% of people who have benefits ever reach their maximum. Think about that.
Is
94%
that right?
have benefits.
I did not know that. That is an incredible statistic that you just.
It's funny that you knew
stat.
that, because I asked that pointed question and was told that he'd have to get back to me. Not you.
That's their stat. That's National Association of Dental Plans stat. That's not even our stat. That's their stat.
You just said that only 6% of dental insurance patients actually ever use their maximum benefit.
Yes.
They reach
that. That's an incredible statistic.
94% don't reach their max. And it's because of the 100-80-50 model. 100% coverage for preventative, 80% for minor restorative, 50% for major procedures. When it comes to the 50 percentile, we're not very good as dentists. We're not very good at providing enough value where patients are going to take money out of their pocket and hand it to us at the 50% level for a crown.
That's unbelievable to me. I did not have any idea.
Well, and dental benefits, please, Brett, if you know the specific statistic, but dental benefit utilization is only in the 30s, I think. So of those who are insured, only 30%, I think roughly somewhere in that neighborhood, are actually even using their benefit.
I would say
that's a more
I would say it's the high 40s.
Okay.
High 40s, low 50s. Okay. Half the people just don't go because they hate going to the dentist.
That's right.
Those numbers make sense, but that last statistic just blew me away. Like, I had no idea that the number was anywhere near that.
Yeah, it is. And it's been year over year. It's been it's not just been a one-off.
Yeah.
So back when I was on the Council of Dental Benefit Plans, we did a deep dive in the dental insurance model and what it looked like, and we actually researched to bringing a dental benefit to market that would have been brought by the ADA or administered by the ADA, and we found that we really couldn't disrupt the market in a way that would have made a difference. So we pulled back, but we learned an awful lot about the benefit industry. And we learned that the 180-50 model is the problem. And so if we increase the MLR or get a reasonable reimbursement rate, a reasonable utilization rate, then we can look at, the model, is it really working? And we can look at the cap, is it really working? If you want to increase the ratio with MLR, in our favor, raise the cap, but still no one would use it, won't do it. That's one of the arguments. So
Brett, would you agree with this? Because this is something that I've kind of seen across the board. So having a practice that focuses a lot in an elderly population in TMJ, sleep, on that side, one thing that I've noticed, and I think this is a perception problem as to what insurance is really intended for, which is really to avoid catastrophic occurrences, right? To save people from having that huge outlay that could be devastating to their annual income or to their family's existence. And I think this is one of the problems that we're seeing with Medicare Advantage programs, which is that, again, this is a little away from dentistry. This is more on the medical side. But what we're seeing with Medicare Advantage programs are these plans that promise a lot of everyday routine care, a lot of expenses covered for regular visits with doctors and routine tests that might not have otherwise been covered with Medicare. But when the catastrophic occurrences happen, they're not covering it the same way. And patients are actually having more out of pocket with Advantage programs than they were with traditional Medicare and a Medigap program. We saw it on the sleep side, we saw it on the TMJ side, and having worked now with a lot of physicians, they're saying the same things, that all these people that are being sold on all these extra little everyday benefits that you can get on the back end, where it's really important to their income and to what they have to come out of pocket with, they're not seeing the benefit. And I think that's a misconception of insurance, that we need to get a narrative out there to the public to say insurance is here to protect you from the really big things, not to pay for all of your everyday expenses.
Yeah, you're right. And it's not an insurance plan. It's a benefit coupon plan.
Right.
And I don't know, I've been in practice for 28, 29 years. And, I've been educating everyone I see on that every single day. We've been doing it for years. It's not making any traction with it. I don't know the answer there. The ADA, we decided to do a PR plan on that. I'll have to look at that if that's something that's feasible. But the bottom line is, we 95% of us take it. Okay. And it drives people to the dentist. It drives people to seek healthcare, but it's not comprehensive. The Medicare Advantage plans are really skinny. Mm-hmm. They're not comprehensive. But so is the general plan that we accepted. The 1.5 crown a year plan. Mm-hmm. We've done really well with it.
Medicare Advantage is, to me, traditional dental insurance. Like I see a lot of parallels there, which is why I brought that up.
Right. So in the public space, so I'll just use Colorado as an example. So we have, I was part of the team that developed a dental benefit in the Medicare space in Colorado. So for adults. So we developed a plan, and it was similar to, a private. We had a cap on it, and, it covered at a certain percentage for things and rates, and it was means tested, whatever. And then over time, we recognized that, we were spending about $1,900 per case. And, so we asked the legislature, we went back and took the cap off, and we were successful. So now we have a truly essential benefit in the Medicaid space for adults in Colorado. And that means if they've got a lot of work to do, you do a lot of work. That's it. Okay. What if that could spill over to the private space? And what if we can get paid for it at a reasonable rate that would be amenable to us? So now we've just taken out the barriers of what drives people away from the dentist, what stops people from doing dental work, if we did, going back to the medical model, if we translated the dental model into medicine. So let's say you needed 2 heart valves replaced, oh, Mr. Jones, yeah, unfortunately you need, your mitral valve and your aortic valve replaced. But good news, you've got benefits. And, this year, we're going to do the first one, and the benefits are going to go, we got $1,000 that you're going to get covered for that. And you're going to have to pay the other $48,000. And we're getting close to the end of the year, so we can do it again in about February. And the same thing, you'll have a new benefit plan. I mean, it's, how did we, accept this as reasonable? Lunacy. Why is it not important to fix your teeth? It's so important to the quality of our lives, the quality of our chewing, our self-esteem, level of infection in your, or inflammation in your body. You know, it's a big litmus test. We have to find ways to reconnect and think outside of the way that we've been doing it. We're comfortable with a lousy system, and the system has been unregulated by anyone. They've been able to do whatever the heck they want and sell really, obnoxious plans to people, and people are ready to buy it, and we're ready to take it. And that's a problem.
I'm going to change a little bit, but still kind of in the same vein. The coding project that ADA was working on, obviously CDT codes are owned and managed by the ADA. And there was a big work group that was looking at maybe changing the way that we structure that with the modifiers. It's sort of moving more towards a medical model. Pros and cons, I think, for that consideration, but it sounded like there was a fair number of individuals that weren't quite ready for the change. So any comments about that coding project? Where do you see that moving forward? Is it dead in the water as we speak? Big conversation, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's been no activity to my knowledge since last year on that. At some point, we have to update it. Mm-hmm. It's getting too cumbersome, and so basically, you got a code for a porcelain crown. Okay, what kind of porcelain was it? It's porcelain. It doesn't matter, but modifiers will help on that. And if we don't continue to evolve and push it forward, because every year we're adding new codes and discontinuing a few, but we're adding more and more, and it's becoming convoluted and it's not organized. If we don't, some other entity will. And who do we want to drive that? Do we want the dental insurance industry to drive that because they're the most posed to do that? Or maybe I would say the dental management systems, they wouldn't, I don't think they're organized enough to do it, but that could be a way to do it. But at some point, someone is going to bring in a new model, and it's going to be accepted because this one is outdated. So, I'm kind of a future thinking leader, and, what's working now is working great, but 5 years from now, what can be possible in 5 years? And I could tell you with, the way technology is moving, there's going to be a lot of new things on the market, with milling and printing and new materials that, an AI, it's going to have to be, I'd like the ADA, which is the biggest voice in dentistry, being the one driving that preferred future. But we're stuck in our present and past, and we have to get over that. So CDT codes, I don't know if it's going to happen this year. It's not happening this year, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Next couple of years, I think it will.
You can keep putting it off as long as you want to. We're good with that.
Yeah. We don't like change, Chad. That's our problem.
Yeah.
But change is happening with or without us.
Well,
so there's a strong movement in a lot of the Medicaid models and some of the DSO models of, if you want to talk about combining medicine and dentistry, Epic is the management system that can combine those. Yeah. And as we move closer and closer to showing us and illustrating ourselves as essential health, we have to be able to communicate with the other players in essential health. Yeah,
I was involved with the project from an AGD perspective, so coming at it from the academy. I do think
those people,
those guys, I'm sure they're a thorn in everyone's side. But we're active in the coding committee anyway. So we were also very active in these work groups to continue to sort of advance the conversation. I was disappointed that it just went away after there was consternation and debate, because that's certainly to be expected, but I thought maybe we could move forward from that. I do think it's the unintended consequence with any of these things that everybody gets super squirrely about and worried that, now it will make it easier for insurance companies to track what we're doing and then mandate what types of material. Like it's that, overreaching, when they have that kind of myopic view or they have that internal view of what's happening in your practice on a daily basis, how will they manipulate that to their own good? And I can appreciate that perspective as well as someone who would prefer to operate autonomously. So I don't know. I'd like the debate to continue for sure.
Yeah, we've given them that power.
I know. I'm well aware. I know.
The bottom line is, and I practice just a few days a month right now, and I'm really grateful that I still can. And I'm in a heavy PPO type practice, and it's a whole different practice model than the fee for service model.
Correct.
And is it better? Is it worse? It is. It just is. We're treating patients. We're bringing the patients up a little bit, each modality. But what I loved most about the fee for service model was, I had a true relationship with my patients that had no encumbrances in between. And, we tried to maximize whatever benefits they had. But that's not, 95% of the market doesn't practice that way.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
You have to, accept that fact.
That's right. That's right. Well, maybe they'll pick it up under your term again. We'll see. There's lots of work to do in all arenas. So not just that one, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. So Jeff, I got to ask, is that Geddy Lee right behind you?
You are now my new favorite person on the face of the earth. Yes, I am the hopeless Rush fanatic. Yes. Oh, we gotta hang, man. We gotta hang. My boys have been to. So my children have been to no less than 8 concerts, and I can't tell you how many I've been to, but they're my favorite band of all time, and changed my life. Honestly, I know it sounds crazy to say, but that is the music that changed my life.
Yeah, I listen to them every day.
Do you?
Just every day. Yep, every day.
Okay.
You guys are kindred spirits. I'm surprised you haven't.
No,
been in the same mosh pit
chat
together.
about. Yeah.
Does he do the Rock Legends cruise? Because if he does that, then.
Well, I couldn't do it this year, but Brett, you are coming on the Rock Legends cruise with me this next year.
Maybe the year
next
after,
year I'm going to be a little busy.
president.
I'll take a rain check for the year after. But
he's going to be busy next year.
I'm sure.
Yeah, if Brett's in, I'm in. There you go. Yeah.
Right. I just finished Geddy Lee's book, and wow, what a great insight.
I haven't read it yet, but I'm sure you sure you read Ghost Rider by Neil Peart.
Yep.
That was such an inspirational book. And then, having lost him here recently, I was actually doing a lecture in Toronto the day that Neil Peart died. Every lecture I do has some kind of a little small tribute to Rush, like whether it's one of his lyrics in there or it's, a little bit of music. But I had been doing that. And then at the end of the day, I didn't even realize he had passed, and I was on the airplane, and then everybody started reaching out to me from the lecture. And I've actually got 3 things in this room that were sent to me from people in Toronto, which were tributes to him. And great lyrics, great music, great. I kind of attribute them to kind of getting me back on the right path a little bit. So
great.
Wait a second.
This is you on the right path?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, we'll take a deeper dive into that one the next time we're together.
That's
okay.
for you and your
therapist.
Right.
Nobody calls 60 Minutes at this point.
Yeah. So I do want to take that opportunity though about wellness, and I talked a little bit about my my journey through bottom and, with substance abuse. And, and I called organized dentistry for help, and they guided me to help. And I attribute that to saving my life. And as I got better, I got inspired and to live my best life possible. And, and I look at wellness now in 5 dimensions. I look at it physical wellness. Yes, I'm an Ironman, a 5-time Ironman finisher. I don't think everyone has to be an Ironman finisher to take care of your physical health, but do something physical every day. Get your heart rate up, push some weights around, eat good food, get good sleep. Look at mental wellness or intellectual wellness. Grow your intellectual capacity on a regular basis. Take Chad's lectures, take Jeff's and Jennifer's lectures. Grow that intellectual capacity. Read books, listen to podcasts. Mental wellness. Take care of yourself mentally. Mental illness is running rampant right now through our profession. We lost a colleague to suicide this week, and just one is too many. And when is it going to stop? So we're looking to provide some resources to help people with their emotional regulations and things like that as a profession. So, and then spiritual wellness. And this is where I think, Jeff, music is such a big part to grow, fill my spirit and grow my spirit, and if you follow me on social media, you'll always see me on top of a mountain with the sun behind me, listening to some music or, playing something. And it really is a big part of, so some people say spiritual, goes right to religion or God or, but, that could be what it is for you. But, define a definition of spirit that gets something that fires you up every day. And then social wellness to, pick your tribe, find people who, value the same things you do, who support you unconditionally and you support them unconditionally. And if you can, find time in your life on a regular basis to feed those 5, we're going to be, we've got a pretty good life. And that's the way I live. And I hope, hope we can get others to live that way too. And, and if you're having challenges, please reach out. You don't have to do it alone. So
great.
That's what I want to do.
I think that was perfect timing on your behalf because, we're coming to the close of the hour. And, I think that was just a great way to really just close the show. And I think that the 3 of us, I mean, Brett, like I said, first time we've met, and you're honestly the first, person high up in the ADA that we've had on the show. So it's an honor that we started with you. But I hope that this message gets out to everybody, because what I will close with is, with you at the helm, I see change. I see a positive change. I mean, we went in several different directions, and I liked every single direction that you talked about tonight. I didn't think we'd spend so much time on insurance, but I think it was necessary, and I'm glad that we did. I hope that you don't change coding. You can pass that on to the next generation. That's a selfish ploy on my part.
There's your head in the sand dentist who voted no.
Yeah, I didn't vote.
Shut it down.
I would do whatever JB tells me to.
Let's have another conversation. Let's have another conversation about that, because there's so much that we could talk about.
Agreed.
If you agree to come back, I promise I'll get Doug to intro you again. But
okay.
I love where you're headed with wellness too. I think that's just such a positive aspect, and we had a great wellness year a couple years ago, and I think we need to get back on it for Dentist in the Know too.
Yeah.
We had a Never Miss a Monday challenge, and I think we'll get started on that again. So maybe you'll be a part of that. But I do ask selfishly that you kind of take notice on what's going on our page and provide us some insight into the ADA. We'd love to have you, push some posts out, push some knowledge out, push anything out that's pertinent in the ADA. But it's an honor to have you representing our profession, and I just see such a positive outlook for the future. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Brett.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This was a great conversation. I can't believe it's an hour.
I know.
Thanks for putting up with us for the hour. And to all of our viewers, this will be once again on podcast and YouTube within the coming days. And thanks again, Brett, and thanks to the ADA.
Good night, everybody.
Have a great night.
And that wraps up another podcast for Dentists in the Know. On behalf of Dr. Jennifer Bell, Dr. Chad Duplantis, and myself, remember that we've got a great profession, so let's make it a great day, Dinks.